Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Money with Alpha. I have a lovely guest today, Billie Sharp. Welcome.
Thanks so much for having me.
I'm very excited because we've met through a women's networking group, and you've got such a beautiful light happiness about you, and you've got lots going on, and you're doing so many things. And so I was really looking forward to this conversation to get to know you a little bit better than I have managed to so far. So thank you for coming on.
No, I'm excited. I'm excited to share and to learn more about you as well.
Yeah, wonderful. So I was looking into you a little bit beforehand as well, and you've got so many things going. You know, you've business coach and multiple business owner and mum and wife and so many different roles, which a lot of women do have, but you seem to have amplified that. So please share a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what you love about what you do.
Yeah, so we own six businesses. So I do business coaching and like public speaking. I think
Mhm.
that's the biggest thing. I don't do as much coaching as probably what people would, I think, they assume that I do. I actually
Mhm.
do a lot more public speaking and running of workshops and things like that. And then we also own some trade businesses. We own a business in the tech space, and we also own an e-com business as well. So we have our fingers in a lot of different pies.
Yeah.
But I think that is really important for like as you grow. Like when I first started with one business, I didn't intend that, but
Mhm.
the when I started to actually make a lot of money, I was like, okay, so what now? Like, how do I create generational wealth? How do I
Mhm.
set us up forever? And I soon realized that I needed to have a really diverse portfolio to create that type of structure around that growth so we could amplify everything and keep growing.
Yeah. Oh goodness, there's so many things in there because I think a lot of when I think to sort of how money gets not even taught, but how we kind of hear about it as we grow up, it's very much save money, save for a house, buy a car. You know, you get into debt because either you're using a debt to buy a car and then debt to buy
Yeah.
a house. And then when we think about investing, it's usually just either in buying an investment property or buying some shares and diversifying a portfolio potentially within that. You've done that in the business space, which is quite sort of unusual, really. So how did you, like you said, you didn't sort of set out to do that, but have you, like, did you, when you bought one and you realized more, how come you went down, I'll buy another business or we'll build another business? Did you buy businesses or build them or, and
Yeah,
why did
so
you choose business rather than shares or property?
So I think for me, like I've actually always had a really keen interest in real estate. I
Right.
actually love real estate. Like I will be on realestate.com all the time, just looking at property prices, different. I love human psychology and behavior and how our brain works and why we do things, right? So for me, that's just a fun hobby.
Hmm.
And but at the end of the day, I knew business.
Yeah.
I didn't know real estate. I didn't know investment portfolios. I didn't know shares. Like
Hmm.
I do have a little bit of shares and I do have a little bit of crypto. And I have a little bit of real estate, but that's not my primary thing. And it's not where I started either. It was like, okay, I have an abundant amount of money now. What do I do? So there's like, okay, I'll learn these things along the way. For me, I knew business, and that was where I started. So my first business was just simply one-on-one business coaching. So originally it was in-depth business coaching, and that's what I did. And
Hmm.
then I also created courses. And when we scaled those courses to create seven figures, I was like, okay, this is a lot of money now. And there wasn't a lot of me involved. It was a huge profit. So I think that's the other thing is people always look at like, I have these huge revenues, but it's the profit in the underlying in those actual figures. So
Yeah.
when you're selling courses, it's almost pure profit. Like there is no real underlying set of like financials to deal with, especially when you also have I had coaching clients as well. So any expenses I did have was being covered by those kind of clients. So that's when I was like, okay, what do we do now? And I had the money sitting there, and for more than 12 months, I'd had clients ask me, who does your marketing? And I was like, oh, I do. Like, and they were like, can you help me with mine? And I was like, if I did that, I wouldn't have time to do this. Like, it wouldn't be beneficial.
Yeah.
So I tried actually just finding a marketing agency to collaborate with. And I
Yeah.
tried about five, I think. And every time the clients would come back to me and be like, oh, no, it didn't work out. Like this happened. They took my money. I was like, oh, this is a real problem. Like I didn't even
Hmm.
know that this problem existed in the
Hmm.
marketplace. So
Yeah.
then I ended up hiring one freelancer to just help me with some marketing stuff. So I was still the ideas person behind everything, but I just worked with this one freelancer.
Yeah.
And that now is a standalone agency, and we have 15 staff in that. And
Hmm.
that one freelancer is now our COO. So that business was born and built from that
Solving a
need and
problem.
that necessity. And then
Mm.
from there, it's just been like this snowball of things, and nothing has ever actually been really intended. It's just a gap in the marketplace that we have been shown.
Hmm.
And we've either created something or bought something pre-existing. So, like, we own a cleaning and yard maintenance business. That business was an existing business that was closing down, and we purchased it.
Yeah.
And that for me is like our community business. It is the profit is basically non-existent.
Hmm.
It looks good on paper because the revenue is high, but the profit is not good.
Yeah.
But we create a lot of jobs for people that are overlooked. So,
Hmm.
people trying to go back to the workforce after having kids, it's really hard to find those jobs like 9:30 till 2:30. That's a perfect job for them.
Hmm.
People like escaping DV situations,
Hmm.
people that have severe endometriosis or minor disabilities that still can, like maybe they're neurological disabilities. So cleaning
Hmm.
works really well for them. So we're
Yeah.
creating an environment of employees that can now give back to the community that didn't have a space before. So
Yeah.
I always call that like our love business.
Yeah. Almost a social enterprise.
Exactly. So everything has been, it's just been about finding those gaps within those marketplaces and filling them really.
Yeah. So when you first started and you said you knew business, how did you get to know the business, know,
Yeah.
how to run a
So
business?
so I had a very I would say unusual childhood.
Hmm.
It wasn't probably the easiest sailing. My mum ended up leaving when I was 16, and at that time I was already working three jobs. But
Hmm.
then those jobs became a necessity for me to live. Like I needed to be able to pay my rent. At the same time, I was going to TAFE doing a diploma of business.
Hmm.
And the high school I was at recognized the situation that I was in, and they allowed me to do a school-based traineeship. I probably was one of the first school-based trainees in Queensland. So I was basically allowed to drop 2 days of my school to
Hmm.
work full time. And
Okay.
they included those credits as a part of my schooling because I
Hmm.
was still doing TAFE. So I was allowed to do TAFE and high school at the same time
Yeah.
and work. So and I also I was also working, so I was doing that, but I had two other jobs. And one of my other jobs was in a taxi
Hmm.
business. And so I learned a lot about money and scheduling and operations and those types of
Hmm.
things. And it was at a time where technology was being introduced. So
Right.
offices had computers, but nobody was using them. Like we still did payroll in a book.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
I learned to transition payroll from a book to a computer. So I think because I got to see both sides and I got to see that like technology be introduced across so many different industries, because from there I ended up going into shipping. I ended up becoming an operations manager in shipping.
Hmm.
I was the youngest and first female operations manager out at the Port of Brisbane.
Yeah.
And then when I left to have my daughter, I left work and then I ended up going to work for a different company and I worked as their general manager. So
Yeah.
and it was always in small business. So
Yeah.
you wear so many different hats in a small business. So
Hmm.
I was just shown so much. I was guided. I had some of the best mentors that really just took me under their wing and showed me their lives of experience. But I think when you have somebody that's as ambitious as I am, you're like, sure, I'll show you.
Well, as a mentor, like I've mentored before, and if that you can see if there's a fire in their belly and they want to learn, you're like, I want to give you as much information as you can possibly take in because I know you want it.
Yeah,
Whereas if you're trying to, it's like teaching kids at school and they're not interested. You're like, well, it's just it's depressing for both the teacher and the student because you
yeah,
know neither is really got their heart in it.
exactly.
But if as soon as you've got somebody who wants to learn, oh my goodness, that's yes, so
Yeah.
that's
So
wonderful.
I was definitely that person and I took in everything. Like if my work hours were 8 hours, I was there 12, 16 hours a day, unpaid, just learning every like facet of the business that I possibly could. So I could just absorb. I didn't know that I would go and start my own business.
Yeah.
All I really knew was that I didn't want the life that I'd had as a child.
Hmm.
And I needed to create more, and I just didn't know how to get there or what that looked like. So I just thought it meant working hard at the time. I was like, okay, I just have to work really hard and then
Yeah.
it will come.
Yeah. Now, do you want to touch on your childhood? But first, when you say working harder, I mean, you've got six businesses, did you say?
Yeah.
So how can you run six businesses and still be a mum and still have life and
Yeah, and I think that's really important. So I think the key word there is run. I don't run six businesses. I
yeah.
own six businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So all of our businesses have their own management teams.
Yeah.
I oversee everything. I do a lot of our financials. We do have a team of accountants and lawyers, but I do the day-to-day transactions.
Yeah.
I do payroll. I do those. I do our financial forecasting, things like that. So that I think that still allows me to have my finger on the pulse because I can see where money's being spent. I can see if we've had a
Mm.
bad week. I can see if staff hours are down. Like just from doing those few things, I
Yeah.
can really get an overview of each business every week.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that's the key thing. Like we homeschool. So I
Mm-hmm.
think people are like, how? I'm like, but actually it fits our lifestyle because
Yeah.
we don't have this 9 to 5 routine. Like we actually have worked all weekend just because we've been away. So it doesn't feel like work. Like when you're
No.
creating this environment where you really enjoy what you're doing, it doesn't feel like work. You're like, oh yeah, I get to do this. It's not
Yeah.
I have to do this.
Yeah. It's a really, really interesting mindset shift because I absolutely love what I do as well. And yes, I'll be doing stuff on the weekends. And my daughter doesn't, she sees that as well. And I homeschooled her for a year. I found an alternative school for her now, which is fine. But I have to admit, I love the idea of we could just homeschool for high school and travel and enjoy life and then have clients and do the enjoyable part.
Mm.
Because when you're homeschooling, you can pretty much get the whole thing done in like 2 hours a day.
Yeah, and I think the thing for us is like I said, I do a lot of public speaking. Like in September alone, I did 12 different events. And like that, most professional public speakers don't do 12 events in a year, and I did 12 in a month. So
Yeah.
for me, it means that I get to come home from those events, and it might not be home, it can be to a hotel, and a lot of the time it is a hotel room, but
Mm.
they're there. My husband and my daughter are there. I get to go and have dinner with them. I get to hear about their day. They get to hear about my day. We get to wake up and have breakfast together. Like we get to do all of these things together. Whereas if she was at school, they would be back at home and I would be on the road. And we've done that. Like we have lived that life and it just isn't for us. We're such a little tight-knit, like three family. We love each other so much.
Yeah.
So for us, like having each other is so important.
Yes. And I think that's a beautiful thing because A, you get a richness of relationship for you and your daughter, your husband and your daughter, and the three of you and you and your like it's there's not just three people in there. There's almost like three extra relationships on top of that. And
Yeah.
a lot of our lives are, oh, in the mornings it's always like, hi, get ready for school, and you get home. Have you got any homework? And then the kids are exhausted, and then they're like racing to the end of dragging their heels to the end of the year. And you're like, really? We do this every year. And it's the same as if I'm out on the roads around peak hours, like, why are we all doing the same thing at the same time? Because all our work start at the same time of day.
Yeah.
So
But
then I was
it's
like,
so
why? I have
true.
a choice. Why am I on the roads during peak hour traffic?
But it's really hard, like even for me, because I went from this hard work, I really did, and to
Yeah,
this, like when I first started went out on my own for the first year, I
yeah,
went to my home office dressed in like I was like in a suit,
yeah.
working from my home office, having no idea what I was doing. I was like, what? Because that it was so ingrained
Ingrained.
into me. And
Yeah.
then one of my very successful friends, I saw her and she was wearing a t-shirt, and I thought, sure, I could wear a t-shirt. And I said to her, how do you wear a t-shirt? She was like, how do you not wear a t-shirt? I was like, fair, like so fair. I was
Yeah.
so like, because of the school uniforms, and then you go to like work and you wear a uniform. And if you're not wearing a uniform, you need to be dressing professionally. And like you have to
Hmm.
wear makeup and do your hair. And I was literally going to my home office, hair and makeup, like ready to go for the day for
Yeah.
success, and was not getting anywhere.
No, no, no. Yeah, my home. I literally I have. It's a thing from my mum was the same. Like lipstick, that's my thing, and so I've always got a lipstick there. Otherwise, everything else, I'm like, I can't be bothered.
Yeah.
The hair, the makeup, whatever. If my hair's a bit too fizzy, I just get some water and slick it back, even if I can be bothered doing that. So when you mentioned before, very much about knowing your numbers as a business owner, and you do it weekly as well, I noticed, which
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
So how did you know which numbers to track, and how do you track them? Do you use an accounting system? Do you have like a dashboard report? How do you do that?
So we use Zero
Yeah,
for our accounting, like as our accounting software. But on top of that, we do have a lot of spreadsheets,
yeah,
specifically around like our spreadsheets are more for like KPIs and different metrics.
yeah,
I love data. Like
Yeah.
I'm just like a complete data Nazi. Like love it so much. How do I know? I think to me, that would say I would be like, that's just intuition and common sense. But I
Hmm.
think it comes from experience because I didn't know when I started. And
Yeah.
every single business is so different. So
Hmm.
it's about understanding within those businesses, okay, what do we actually need to be tracking here? Because
Yeah.
I think the thing is, most people have data, they don't even realize it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is people don't track things. And that blows my mind. I'm like, why don't you track that? And even if you don't know what to do with it, just track it because
Yeah.
then you have the information for 3 years' time so that you can actually start running some reports and things like that.
Yeah.
But like understanding like how long a vacuum might last, for example, right? That's imperative to know that this
Yeah.
still has to come out of our bottom line and we have to replace our vacuums after X. How often do they need to be serviced, maintained? All of those different things. Like
Yeah.
people don't track that information. And
No.
I genuinely like in a trade business, especially, it really blows my mind as to like they don't break down like, okay, well, we are doing this much travel and we are doing this much like actual labor. They
Yeah.
just, oh, it was in the quote. I'm like, yeah, but where are we breaking it down? Like,
Yeah.
there's no actual breakdown. So,
Yeah.
although we do use zero for like our basic kind of accounting, financial forecasting, a lot of that underlying data
Yeah.
is driven by those reports as well.
Yes. Yeah. And even, I mean, if it's a website, like even with course sales, you're like, where did people come from? How long are they
Yeah,
on your page? Where did you lose them on the page? Like
yeah,
there's so much technology out there now. I remember putting Hotjar on my website through it and just going, oh, wow, this is really interesting. Like the heat map. I was going, oh, I love this because I like data as well because it allows you to make better decisions. But we
yeah,
get scared of it because we don't know what to do with it. But like you said, just collect it to start with and then figure out what to do with it if you can. But then you can see trends.
yeah,
If you have enough data over a period of time, and this is what I do with like the money side of things. I've had clients who, there's always like a peak in August, and I was like, so what keeps happening in August? And they're like thinking about, oh, it's when we go on holidays. I was like, right, there we go. But the holidays aren't in August. That's why it was confusing. The holidays are in December, but they pay for them in August. And
yeah,
so that's why there's a spike. And I was like, okay, now I see what happens. You paid for them every, so now we need to plan. Now we know that that's happening every single August. We
yeah.
need to save for that so that the spike is not going to cause so many
And it's
dramas.
like understanding as well. Like I had this at once, I had this air conditioning cleaning client,
Yeah,
and like they knew that winter is their quietest time. Like the 3 months was like their dead period, right? So if
yeah,
you know that, it's
yes,
about creating marketing that's going to push through that period
yeah,
or moving people's start dates, giving them a discount to move them into that 12 months, like because it's a 12-month return service. So
yeah,
like giving them a like 6 month free discount, whatever you want to market it as,
yeah,
but moving and filling those gaps. But you have to see that they're there. If you
yeah.
don't see the gap, you can't fill the gap.
No. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, I had a client who's an educator, and of course, December, January, things are quieter. So, I mean, and she knew that, like just by instinct anyway, and also because she knows the money's not there. But until you actually see it on a page and you can like see the graphs, and she's like, oh, I think I might start doing some educational products that parents can use to keep their kids occupied during the school holidays. I'm like, yes. So then the income can come in that period, but from a
Yeah.
different revenue stream. So yeah, it's invaluable to see that.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, childhood. I wanted to have a chat
Yeah.
about this because there's a lot of our stuff, and you've sort of alluded to a little bit already. How did money kind of show up, or how do you remember money as a child?
Money was really weird for me because I was raised by a single mum,
Hmm.
but at the same time, she did have relationships.
Hmm.
And where we lived was in a mining town, so there's
Hmm.
a lot of money.
Yeah,
But she didn't have a lot of money.
right.
So I saw this kind of, and usually when people do have a lot of money in that type of area, they don't, what they do with it is crazy in itself.
Mm.
So it was very weird. Like, on the one hand, I saw my mum be very frugal. She would lay by everything and made sure like pay things off in advance. But then I would see like my stepdad and people like that get their, thousands of dollars paycheck in, and then
Mhm.
we'd have a brand new TV.
Right.
Like, or we'd go into debt to buy something. So for me, money was very confusing. I thought that you could just have whatever you wanted. Like, I know that as soon as I started earning my own money, I just thought you could spend it all. Like, just
Yeah.
get it in and spend it. Like, honestly,
Yeah.
that's how I treated it for so long.
Yeah.
Um, and then even when I was working as the operations manager, I was on over $100,000 a year and I was just spending every single cent.
Mm.
And my husband, he saved everything, like everything. Like this guy, he could work at a pizza shop and have savings. And I was like,
Yeah.
how? And he was
Yeah.
like, how do you not have savings? And
Yeah.
I was like, wow. So our money from the day we had been married, our money had been joint. And like I always paid my share of the bills and then I would spend everything else.
Mm.
And he said to me, like, if you're serious about buying a house, you need to save because your paycheck is
Mm.
much bigger than my paycheck. So
Yeah.
we really need to be saving off your paycheck.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, well, how do I buy my stuff then? And you don't like so
Yeah.
then he's like and he tried to teach me and I just couldn't. I would not. I just kept spending all my money.
Mm.
And he said to me, do you really want to buy a house? And I was like, yes, of course I really want to buy a house. And he said, okay, that's it. I'm just going to give you a $50 a week cash allowance, and
Uh-huh.
that's all you're allowed. So I remember I was my first week on this $50 cash allowance, and I went out night clubbing, and we
Yeah.
lived 7Ks from the city at that time.
Yeah.
And I spent all my money, and I couldn't get a taxi home, so I had to walk. It was so
Oh,
funny.
feeling the
When I
pain.
got home, I said to him, like the next day, I was like, look, I had to walk home. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I earn money. I should be allowed my money. And he was like, you just needed to budget to get to make sure you had a taxi home. He's like, that's ludicrous. Like,
Yeah.
but I did it. Like, it was a tough learning curve, but I learned very, very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And when I would be
Tough
like, I
love.
want to buy this watch, and he was like, well, you have to save for it. And I was like, right. So then, like, yeah, it was probably a weird 6 months, but yeah, I'm glad that he did it because it really did teach me about saving and putting aside and things like that.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I was so bad.
It's interesting actually because friction, like money and relationships, is often a lot of friction there. So for him to do that and for you to take it on as well, because in some situations people are kind of like, oh, it's like financial control and blah, 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 these days we kind of go to that extreme, whereas sometimes it is just genuinely, I'm really trying to help you here. And that money and it's also important, and this is something else I find I really 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 want everyone to understand that money needs to have a purpose.
Yeah.
And once you sort of like your husband had that purpose, he's like house. You knew what you wanted it for, but you hadn't connected enough with that purpose to change your belief system yet about who you were and how to manage it. And partly it's knowledge, and often we'll either go towards or away from. Like my parents were big spenders, so credit. My dad was self-employed, so he got like he would get literally get wads of cash. He was a house painter, and then the money would just disappear. And so they'd be back to square one again. And so I watched this growing up, and so I squirreled away. So I was like that. I worked in retail for like I don't know 4 years, and I saved up thousands of dollars. I paid for my own trip around the world, all of that. So yeah, that was very much me. But we tend to go to one extreme or the other. We're either towards or away from. So once you got that feeling of saving, did how did that change things for you from then on?
Once I could see like, oh, my paycheck is like building up in the bank, like
Yeah,
it's actually saving, and I'm not going without. I think that was the biggest
yeah,
thing. I felt like if I saved, I had to go without, and I really didn't. Like I was still going out, I was still buying nice things. I was just buying things with more of a purpose, and I was thinking about the things I was buying. I wasn't just
yes,
impulse buying everything.
it's
So
intentional.
no, and I think that was really good, and that changed my relationship with money because then I was like, oh, I don't really need that right now. And I was really scared that once I started earning like more money, that I would go back to just
Yeah.
spending so much money. And it's funny, I was talking to somebody the other day and I was like, no, I do that thing where on your phone, like if I want something, I leave the tab open for 30 days. And then if I still want it, I'll go back and buy it. But usually I'm like, oh, what did I even want that for? Like,
Yes. Yeah. Yep. I do the same thing actually. I have lots of tabs open on my phone. Only at the moment it's for Christmas present ideas.
Yeah.
But yes, but no, it's a really good way of doing it. And same with like emails. Sometimes I'll just take myself off the email list. I was like, I don't even want to be tempted with that because if I want it, I will go find it. Or if I need something, like I needed my daughter got a new bed, so I needed different bed sheets because it was a different size. And now I'm on Adair's list. And of course they keep sending these emails with beautiful sheets and stuff. It's like, I don't need them. Unsubscribe. Go away. Don't
But it
want it.
is really hard because I feel like it's in our face more than ever. And
Mm-hmm.
like places like Amazon and places like that have made it really easy and accessible. Like it's
Yes.
so easy just to be like, oh, I'll get that and it's delivered tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah.
Like I
One
don't
click
even have to
buy.
get in my car and drive to the shop. Like literally it'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And that consumer, like we have to have it right now. There was even something recently, I was like, does nobody want to wait anymore? Like I
No.
remember saving up for I have this camera that I wanted, so I used to do photography. And it took me a year to save up for this thing. But I felt such a sense of like pride when I actually went into the shop and I still bargained, well not bargained, like,
Yeah.
negotiated to get a better price. But I was like, yay, this is my camera rather than using buy now, pay later or whatever, which I absolutely like. I'm like, people, please. I don't offer it. I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't offer it either, and I've never had an afterpay account or anything like that, and I see the holes that people are in from it, and I'm really glad that that stuff really wasn't around like when I was younger.
Yeah.
Um, but I think like then for me, like we became debt free, and that was like a huge milestone for me. Oh, actually, I lie, we were not debt free. We had our mortgage or a very small amount of our mortgage, but we didn't
Yeah.
have any personal loans, any car loans, anything like that. Um, but then once you get to a certain wealth bracket, it's relearning that because then
Yes.
debt is good.
The problems change. Yeah.
Yeah, but well, it's what you know is not right anymore. So my
Yeah.
whole life, like you're taught like debt is bad, save, blah, blah, and you do all of those things, and we did all of those things. And
Yeah.
then our financial advisor and our accountant was like, okay, but you're at a point now where debt is good.
Yeah.
And
It's leverage.
I was like, what? So then it's just about like relearning everything you thought you knew in a whole nother way. I was like, I'm so confused right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is the thing, like there is good debt. I mean, I started out as an accountant, so we had like good debt and bad debt. And so I've had that in my mind for the longest time to the point where I've never taken out a loan for a car because I just can't get my brain around taking out a loan for something that's going to decrease in value.
Yeah.
So yeah, so when we took out our home loan, I was like, I'm okay with that because A, we need somewhere to live, and secondly, it's going to appreciate in time. But yes, I still have I'm not a big debt fan. I don't like debt, but I do recognize that it has the power to get you places faster and to get access to assets that you probably can't save for, because it
Yeah,
would
and I
take too
think
long.
different types of assets too. Like for us, we owned our cars outright,
Yeah.
and our financial advisors and our accountant were basically like, yeah, but they're yours, and you own six businesses, so they could have vehicles in them, and we could be
Yes.
offsetting here,
Yeah.
and you could sell yours and take your cash back. And I was
Yeah.
like, but we don't have a debt. And they were like,
Yeah.
it's not the point. Like,
No. Well, and this is where when you have a business, you have so much more ability to leverage. So you can have
yes,
leases and because it's tax deductible, you need that thing anyway, like the car. You may as
yeah,
well, and if it's being used for the business and your accountant, like, you're
yeah,
using it in a way that where you're intended to in terms of taking deductions, then absolutely. So it's just you also have to because I think a lot of people just automatically assume they can deduct their car if they have a business. Not necessarily.
yeah,
Trades, absolutely. Clean, yes, absolutely. Like you need that
yeah,
vehicle it's like a mobile office in a way.
yeah.
But for a lot of people, they can't. But there's still ways to do it. And that's why you need those finance professionals to actually help you with that.
Definitely. And I think like, yeah, just like if I didn't have those people on my side and a great team of people, I wouldn't know. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what I don't know. So it is their job to be like, hey, well, you guys have done an amazing job to get to this point, but now this is the next level. This is
Yes.
what the next level looks like. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that's very scary.
Yeah. And I think it's like you said, every time step of the way, it's like leveling to this point, and then you need certain advisors, and then you need to level to that point, and then sometimes those advisors aren't the right ones anymore. You need others.
Yeah.
So, but it's still important to get that knowledge and that coaching and that advice because we, like you said, we don't know what we don't know. So
Yeah.
that's yeah, very important. I wanted to touch on you said generational wealth before. Why is that important to you, and what does it mean for you?
What it means to me is to leave my family, like specifically my daughter or my husband, like if I was to leave before him,
Hmm.
um, give them opportunity. Like I
Hmm.
think that's the biggest thing for me is I see money as an opportunity for power.
Hmm.
And I see power as the opportunity for change.
Yeah.
And my entire goal in life is to drive real change globally, not
Mhm.
just within my family, but to
Yeah.
be able to truly give back and make change around the world. So
Yeah.
I want to leave knowing that I've made change, but also created opportunities for my family too.
Yeah.
So like for my with our daughter, for example, like she's homeschooled, so she doesn't go to a regular school, but having money means that you have more options all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Like there's so many more avenues for different things. And like my husband retired at 37.
Yeah.
Like that's insane.
Yeah.
And to think he's also like he's a high voltage electrician and an electrical engineer. Like he's an
Hmm.
extremely talented person, could easily go back into the job force, but we recognized him at home is way more important for us. So
Yeah.
having him retire and just be with us at home is so much more beneficial. But that money created that opportunity.
Yes.
And I think the biggest thing is like I was really afraid of success. I was never afraid of failure. I didn't care so much about that, but I was
Mm.
really afraid of success. I was afraid that if I became successful, that I would be greedy and selfish and I would lose a lot of friends. And I did lose friends along the way, but it's not because I'm greedy or selfish. It's because you create a different circle of people and you just simply have outgrown them. That's all it is. It's like going through high school, and then when you leave high school, you kind of make new friends. It's the
Yeah.
same. When you actually grow up and you continue to grow up,
You
that's what
graduate into
happens.
adulting.
Yeah, you just make new friends, and those other friends, it's not like they dislike you. They just don't, we just don't spend as much time together anymore. So I think like that's the biggest thing really is understanding that type of change and creating that type of opportunity for everyone.
Yeah. And I think a lot of what underpins what you've been talking about is being intentional and being clear and having a vision for your life and your family's life and not just for the immediate, but for the future and like generationally beyond.
Mm,
And I completely agree with what you're saying in terms of like people just tend to have different priorities. And especially if you're sort of challenging the status quo, which you're essentially doing. I mean, there are more and more homeschooling families out there, but not probably as many who are doing sort of multiple businesses and owning them the way you do, and then having your husband there. You know,
mm.
I've got friends who he retired. I think he was probably in his like 30s, early 40s, and became the house dad, and her career sort of really took off, and he's been sort of taking care of their three boys, and he gets a lot of judgmental comments
Yeah.
for one of a very diplomatic way. Like he tells me some of the things that the other parents, primarily mums, would say at school. And oh, where's your wife? And doesn't she love her family? Just like quips like this. Like who has the right to say any of that anyway? But it's just such a different way of doing it. So I think what you're doing is great
And I think
as a
it's
role
funny
model.
too because like I've heard my husband like I've been there when he's copped some comments. He gets things like, "Well, we don't all just have a rich wife."
Oh my God.
And it's like, but let's just rewind. We weren't rich. And just to start with, that is not how it happened. He was raised by a single dad. I was raised by a single mom. Like that's not not
Oh,
where we came
the
from. So
judgment dripping from those comments.
yeah, but and he handles it so well. And
Yeah.
I think it takes a real like man, but any person to really put themselves aside
Mm.
and chase their partner's dreams. And I said to him this year, I said like, are you bored? Is there something you want to do? Like, and he said to me, when my dream is bigger than your dream, we'll chase mine, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. And I was like, okay, fair, because I wouldn't be okay with just doing what he wants. That wouldn't be okay with me. Whereas for
Yeah.
him, he sees
Exactly.
the real, I think he sees the fire within me and he's on board with the purpose.
Yeah.
And that's enough for him. He's like, yeah, no, your purpose is so huge. I just want to be a part of that. And I'll
Yeah.
support you and help whatever way we can to reach that goal.
Yeah. So what is your dream?
My dream, I want to be a billionaire. I want to
Mhm.
be like a multi-billionaire because
Yeah.
I think that's the type of money that drives real change.
Yeah.
And people often ask me, like, what does that change look like? And the truth is,
Yeah.
I don't know. I envision that it would be something where we create some type of board of people where
Mhm.
people can come with different solutions to different world problems, and then we would
Yeah.
be able to seed invest into those problems to give them a start.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. When you were talking about that, I was like, oh, I'm thinking combination of like the elders, like Richard Branson had like the elders.
Yeah.
I think they're all probably slowly passing on from now. And then I think of like Alex and Layla Hermosi and that sort of empire type of thing. I mean, that's a different space, but I was like, oh, but the money really does have the ability to make the changes that you want.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think probably the most like person that I would simulate to would be like Bill Gates and Melinda Gates.
mhm,
They have a foundation where it's exactly this. They basically they look at key problems, so like sanitation issues around the world,
mhm,
the carbon emissions, things like that, and work with engineers and scientists. Like just come in and be like, what's your idea? How can
yeah.
we solve this? This is it. Okay, we'll seed fund. They seed fund like 500 businesses a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And he'll say like maybe 10 are successful. It's
yeah.
not profitable at all because of how much funding they're giving out, but they're solving real world problems and
Yeah.
they get no
Mm,
credit. Like there's no credit pushed back to them, which is like that, and that's not the purpose of it. Like the purpose is to create a better world for
mhm.
generations to come.
Yeah.
And I think it has like there has to be people that do that.
Yes, and that is a beautiful, amazing goal and dream.
Yeah.
I would, yeah, any little help that you need, I'm happy to help
We're
because
on track. So you just have to keep going. I think that's the biggest thing. Like it's scary
yeah,
and like it's scary to admit that that's your dream and just to go for it because what
mm,
happens if I don't get there? And it's like even if I make it halfway,
yeah,
we did pretty well. Like
yeah. Well, it's a heck of a lot better than not having even like strived for it
yeah.
because getting there and saying it out loud is actually really important too. I think every time I've said something out loud, and to be honest, usually it's born out of a certain degree of frustration for a present situation. And suddenly that just becomes the juggernaut to make it go because it's like, oh, it's real now. I've said it out loud. It has to
Yeah,
happen. And then
exactly.
energy and opportunities tend to come as a result. So I love the, that I remember the first time I heard this like term BHAG, like the big, hairy, audacious goal,
Yeah.
whether it needs to be hairy or not, I don't know. But, audacious, I think is wonderful. So, yeah, I
Yeah,
have a
we
question.
always say like dream big, then dream bigger.
Yes, yes. Oh my goodness, yes. And anytime someone says, oh, well, that's not realistic, I was going, well, who's living in reality? Like, who's reality
Yeah.
anyway?
Aren't we living in a simulation? No, just kidding.
Well, the Matrix, there's you could have all sorts of theories. Who knows? You can
Yeah,
create your own reality.
exactly. Yeah.
I have just a bit of a frivolous question now. Where did the tiara come from?
Oh, so the tiara actually, one of my friends, she is a well-known coach and she was wearing wigs in her videos.
Okay.
She actually has alopecia where your hair falls out.
Oh, yes. Yep.
So, and she used to own an extension business. So
Right.
but she has an obsession with wigs. They're not like, they're like pink and blue and like purple. They're really cool wigs. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, that's so cool. And she said, yeah, and it's a real point of difference, right?
Yes.
And for every birthday, in my entire life, I've had a crown on my birthday, a tiara on my birthday. And I'm obsessed, like just with them. I think they're so beautiful and fun.
Yeah.
And then I remember when I got married and like I don't know if it was my mom or someone on that day was saying to me, like, it's really important that you take this all in because you don't get this type of treatment all the time, like your hair and your makeup done, and like, you don't always get to wear a crown and things like that. And then when I started creating my own life, I was like, I'm getting my hair and makeup done professionally all the time now. I was like, why
Mhm.
can't I just wear a crown all
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
time? Like, why can't I just wear a pretty cool thing?
Yeah.
And so I just started, and then I was just doing it casually
Yeah.
on a course when I'd created or things like that. And then what happened was I would turn up to an event and people would say, "Oh, you're not wearing a crown." No, I'm not, am I? So
Yeah.
then it just became this part of the brand. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. And I think women really relate to it. And it was so great this year. We were the major sponsors of the Beam Awards, and
Hmm.
we gave every winner and runner-up a crown. So we gave out 55 crowns that night. I
Oh,
was like,
wow.
yes, this is so cool. And
Yeah.
to like look around the room and just see all of
Oh,
these people in
crowns.
crowns was so beautiful. I was like,
Yeah.
Yes, loved it.
Oh, I think it's brilliant. There's so much seriousness, and especially as women, we kind of like, oh, well, I like to wear sparkles. So
Yeah, I love
even,
glitter. I love sequins. I love
yeah,
all of those things.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've got another friend who likes them too, and we went to an event, and my daughter and I dressed up, and we walked in there, and I could just see her shrink because not everybody was wearing them. And we had face glitter, we had, face gems, all of it. She literally went back to the car and changed. And I was like, okay. All right, see what happens. Halfway through the night, she's like, Mama, can I have the car key? She went back and changed and put her sparkly dress back on. And I was like, that's my girl. I was like, I don't care. This is fun. We wanted to do this. There are a few other people wearing it, but it's important, I think, it's a symbol as well
Yeah.
as, whether it's a tiara or something else. But it's symbolic of you just being you and
Yeah,
authentic.
and I think it's so interesting because like it's those things like I bought this pair of pants recently and they're sparkly. I love
Yeah.
them. They're
I have
crazy
sparkly
pants. They
pants.
remind me of like being in a magic show, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't think they're the most flattering pair of pants on me. So I was like a bit like, oh, do I wear them? Like, I don't know. It's like, actually, I don't care. I love them so much. I'm just going to wear them.
Wear them. Yeah.
The comments, everyone's like, oh my God, I love your pants. Oh my God. I was like, I love these pants too. Like, I don't care what my mum tum looks like in these pants. I'm obsessed. And I think that's just it, right? It's just getting that little bit of confidence to be like, nah, I'm sending it. I don't
Yeah.
care.
That's it. Yeah. A little bit more confidence, like 51%. I remember reading
Yeah.
that somewhere. It's like you just need like just a little bit more than less, and then you're good.
And I think like showing our kids and especially our daughters like that type of confidence is so important.
Yeah.
Just turning up being who you are authentically all the time.
Yeah.
And I watch my daughter, she gets to watch me work. She comes to our events a lot of the time. She sees me on calls, like all of those different things. And like her version of working in her mind is so different to any other child's version of working because she's 9 and
Yeah.
this is all she knows, like is us doing this. So
Yeah.
this is all she
Love it.
really remembers is us doing this. And she just like she knows it's not normal,
Yeah.
but she doesn't know what is normal.
Yes. Oh, that's so sensational. I love it. Yeah, no, my daughter, like we went to an event and I was wearing a dress that had sparkles on it again. And she's like, am I too much? It's like, no, you never need to ask me that question if you're too much. The answer will always be hell no. You can
Yeah.
be as
You can
much as
never
you
be
want.
too much.
So yes, yeah, my daughter's 10, so similar age group. But yeah, she is surrounded still by some family members who have, what's normal and what you're supposed to do and all of that. So I'm trying to balance it out with
And
my
so it's
sparkly
funny you
pants.
say that because my mum, because we've been away, so my mum's been watching her for 3 weeks and we were home briefly in between and mum kept saying, this household is just weird. This household is just weird. This household. And I was like, it is weird, but we love it. Like it's
Yeah,
weird, but it works and it's our weird. And to us, that's all we know now. Like we don't know like the normal. I'm like, so what do you do then? Like, how does
yeah,
it play out for you? Because we don't do TV in the morning. We don't like we just sit around and read books. Like mum's like,
mm,
9-year-olds aren't reading books. And she's
no,
like, because we take Bella to the library every week, and Bella gets like 17 books a week, and they're like little novels. So,
yeah,
and she reads them.
yeah,
And I was like, but if she didn't read every day, she wouldn't get through her 17 books.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
She has, it's not like, well, you need to read. It's just she likes
She's
to
not
read. So
doing it.
that's what happens. So that is our
Yeah,
normal. Like,
follow your bliss.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
if you want to go dig a hole with a stick out in the dirt, go dig a hole in a stick. I really don't care. Like,
If you want to do it wearing a tiara, go for it.
yeah, go for it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Now we're starting to run low on time. So, how do people find you, work with you, be in your sphere? Like, how does that happen?
Yeah, so I have the Bazillionaire Academy now, which is $25 a week, cancel anytime.
Mm-hmm.
And you can just basically find me on Facebook or Instagram, billysharp.official,
Yep.
and you can find them there. But the Academy has literally over, I think it's like 50 courses, it has website templates, email templates, everything you absolutely need, weekly coaching calls,
Yeah.
quarterly long coaching calls, has everything you need for a successful business. And I
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to create a platform where it was affordable because I felt like when I first started, there was nothing affordable. Like it was so
Mm.
overpriced and
Yeah.
there was no entry level thing. And if it was affordable, it was a lock-in contract. So it was really important for me to create something that's week to week. You can just opt in and opt out. It's no press up, no pressure, no stress,
Yeah.
and go from there.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. We'll put the links in the show notes if you happen to be listening to this and can't write that down, so you can go back later and follow Billie and look at her Billie Bazillionaire Academy, which is a great name. But thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and so much in there. I think I'm going to have to play that back again because that was really, really good. I loved it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your week, and yeah, take a week to soak all that in. I'll catch you next time.